it was predictable that everybody in Green Bay wants him fired. Adam Schefter reporting the Packers are working on a deal to retain Matt LaFleur, and they should. Green Bay fans can be a little delusional. You had Favre and Aaron Rodgers for 31 years. You got to 3 Super Bowls and won 2. Why? Because free agents mostly don't want to play in Green Bay. Small town, not a lot to do. So you got to live through the draft. 3rd straight year, youngest team in the league was Green Bay. That happens a lot. 3rd straight year, fewest free agent signings. So they're missing a leg on the bar stool in Green Bay. A couple years ago, McVay and Les Snead talked the owner, Stan Kroenke, into paying for Jared Goff and Matt Stafford at the same time at quarterback. Good luck doing that in Green Bay. There is no owner. So they've got some obstacles, and Packer fans are like, well, why can Philadelphia do? Because it's Philadelphia, and they have huge game day revenue, and they have a highly aggressive owner. They don't have to get things approved. And so if Favre and Rodgers each win 1 Super Bowl in 31 years, it's hard. Don't be Cleveland and fire a really smart offensive guy, and the following week, he's the 1st or 2nd best candidate for 6 jobs. The other thing to remember is Matt LaFleur outcoached Ben Johnson this weekend. Yes, he did. The first half is the coach's half. That is play design, play calling, game plan, scheming. Green Bay led 21-3. The second half, as Caleb Williams and Josh Allen proved, is the baller half. That was Elway's half. Josh Allen's better in the second half. You're not on script now. Everybody's seen everything. So if you want to blame somebody for Chicago's 25, points late in the game, that's Jeff Hafley. But even Jeff Hafley, what are you going to do? So all 3 games, the Packers played the Bears, Green Bay led. Well, the coaches take leads. By the way, Philadelphia, San Francisco. Who was the coach that had a great first drive? Kyle Shanahan, not Nick Sirianni.
And then Kyle Shanahan called awesome plays in the second half. Listen, multiple things can be true. Colin keeps saying the whole first half is a coach's half. The second half isn't. Just not true. Something I completely disagree with. I'm a massive Matt LaFleur fan, and I think the Packers should keep Matt LaFleur. Everyone is definitely on the whole fire train with a lot of these coaches right now. And moving on from like a Sean McDermott, a Harbaugh, some of these other coaches, it's so much easier to do that because you don't see any elevation in the most important moments. And with Matt LaFleur, you saw the elevation in this game. The problem is that you then also solve some of the issues as well, but that doesn't mean you automatically move on. Some of the clock management in this game, which is on Matt LaFleur, the timeout usage really hurt them, really crushed them. Some missed kicks really hurt him, really crushed them. Some questionable play calling in the second half. Just constantly trying to run the ball into a stacked box is questionable, right? Is not good enough. It is not good enough. And yet it was brilliant in the first half. It was absolutely brilliant. But then some of these other little more nuanced things, the Green Bay Packers just don't quite do it. And we saw that's why they lost against the Bears in the regular season. And that's why they lost the Bears in the playoffs. But, this was shaping up to being like an absolute dominant, wildly impressive win. And we can say all injuries, Micah Parsons, absolutely, absolutely. If this team was healthier, they would absolutely positively be better and be in a better position to win. But the players that were there and the coaching staff that was there still deserve to be held accountable. And this is a game that the Green Bay Packers absolutely positively could have and should have won, could have and should have won. And Jordan Love played awesome, but then he missed a couple important throws. But you can only expect a quarterback to be so perfect throughout the course of a game. And that's why at the very bare minimum, it's like you want to see better usage of timeouts, clock management, play calling in the second half when your offense can't get going. Like, they could not get going offensively in that second half. And it's like, I understand why the Eagles struggle with that, because I'm like, who the heck is Kevin Patullo? I'm like, I expect bad coaches, but like not Matt LaFleur. I expect better there. But that doesn't mean you abandon a Matt LaFleur because he is young. He is still developing. He is still learning and growing as a coach. This stuff takes time. You could probably make the argument that the prime for a coach, and things have changed because we started hiring coaches a lot younger. You're probably in your prime as a head coach, probably in your 40s, 40s, 50s, because you're at this prime age now, depending on, obviously, if you have enough, where if you've actually been coaching. This is now if you've been coaching kind of like in your 30s, which is like what all these coaches are doing now. But you can be a hotshot super genius or whatever in 30s, but you still need to understand how to lead men, how to talk to them, how to coach them. You have to make a lot of... Mac McVie has made a ton of mistakes. He admitted he made mistakes in the Super Bowl. Like, you got to learn. You got to get experience. Andy Reid was an absolutely elite, unbelievable coach in Philadelphia. He made lots of mistakes. He learned from a lot of the mistakes onto Kansas City. But you, when you're in your 40s, 50s, it's like you now have a ton of football experience. You probably coached, especially if you're an offensive coach, coached many different quarterbacks. You've been in many different games. You've made your mistakes. Your own understanding has evolved. You realize and recognize, you know what? In the fourth quarter, when I'm down by 3, I actually prefer to take this approach rather than that approach. You know what? I actually prefer to save my timeouts in the final 2 minutes. Actually, you know what? I realize that's actually overrated. I'm actually totally comfortable using my timeout 8 minutes in the third quarter as long as I'm within, the red zone. I'm actually comfortable with that because those points matter just as much in now than they would in the final 2. Whatever it is, whatever the philosophy and whatever lessons you learn throughout the course of your career. And you're still also in your intellectual prime because you're still operating at a very fast pace. You're still very smart. You're not on the decline yet. You're not kind of like, things just don't come as fast as they used to. Like you there. So like you're entering Matt LaFleur's prime in terms of his coaching abilities. And the reality is, since everybody wants to fire everyone, it's like, who are you hiring? Who do you want to bring in? Harbaugh, you think that's going to be better? Stefanski, you think that's going to be better? Like who are you hiring? So yeah, don't make that mistake. Matt LaFleur can still be your coach for the next 20 years and be great and win a lot. So this was a crushing loss for the Green Bay Packers. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And we can point to moments that everyone struggled a little bit, and it's a bummer. It's a bummer. They were in a position to win. They should have won. They could have won. They could have won. They should have won. They would have won. Should have, could have, would have, but they didn't. And it's just tough because if this team truly was at full strength, at least the margin of error gets wider. And I talked a lot about this today, about the margin of error in coaching. And the margin of error, it just got too narrow specifically in that second half. And then everything else stalled. And then the margin of error got bigger and bigger for the Chicago Bears. But then also, when your players don't execute, when you're missing kicks, it's just like it fundamentally changes the game in a way that you now have to try to overcome. And then that is when you really do feel the pain of not having a Masika, a Kraft, etc. If the players that you have aren't going to rise to the occasion in that moment, and you're missing a Kraft and you're missing a Mike, like, well, then what are you supposed to do? Because one of the biggest benefit of having these great players is that they can then overcome the issues of some of the other lesser players around them. Kobe Bryant is absolutely brilliant and amazing, but what made him so brilliant and so amazing was not just his ability to play great with other great players, but it was able to take on the burden of some of the weaker players. And so when you have some of your strongest players gone, who's there to take on that burden? And that is where one of Jordan Love's limitations falls, because he is so much more of this, like, a true pocket passer. And so he is not a quarterback who's just like, all right, we're struggling to run the ball. The moment I see any space, I'm taking off. I'm taking off for 10, 15 yard, whatever it is. 3rd and 1, I'm just muzzling my way through this right now, and I'm going to get another 3-4 yards. But again, I'm not blaming Jordan Love for this loss by any stretch of the imagination. But it's just, one of the things that you're just kind of like, yeah, it would be pretty nice if you could have a quarterback. And again, what are you just going to find a Josh Allen lying around? Of course not. Of course not. but I still think there's room for a ton of optimism around the Green Bay Packers and the direction they're moving in, and they just need to stay healthy. You have Micah and Kraft in this game. I mean, you're telling me you can't win this game. You were right there to win this game without them. And a whole host of other injuries, just Micah and Kraft obviously being the biggest ones. So, I don't think Matt LaFleur should be on the hot seat. I don't know why you're trying to blame Halfley. I mean, the man was doing everything he could as well. He did awesome in that first half as well. The second half, listen, it was a lot of great plays by the Bears and a lot of great plays by Caleb Williams as well, and great play calling by Ben Johnson. And it's just, he didn't have the bodies. So it's tough loss for the Packers, but I just don't think it's doomsday. Mayday, mayday, red alert, red alert. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Green Bay Packers? Do you think Matt LaFleur should be on the hot seat? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. This really does help with visibility in the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.